the biggest game on the continent.
The Africa Cup of Nations.
This is absolutely incredible from Bounedjah.
Mane! Senegal!
Well, all of those moments are those we will relive as we go through 1 month of intense football action, and all of it will be right here on the Joy Prime channel and the Joy News channel. My name is Nathaniel Atto, and I'm glad to welcome you to the official countdown to this year's edition of the Africa Cup of Nations happening in La Côte d'Ivoire. Of course, the venues are going to produce that African magic and what gets the whole world to focus on us and have a great look at our talent and what we've got to offer to the rest of the world. This afternoon, we're looking at a range of issues, especially throwing the focus on the Black Stars of Ghana, who have played a final trial game which ended in a goalless drawn game, attracting all sorts of criticism, all sorts of analysis from those who have been termed as the 30+ million coaches here in Ghana. But this is not only about Ghana. Ghana has won 4 out of all of the titles that have been available since the inception of the Africa Cup of Nations. But we'll talk about Nigeria, who we refer to as a neighboring country because of Ghana-Nigeria relations. Of course, when it comes to the stage of football, it's a completely different ball game when it comes to rivalry. Here with me in studio this afternoon to start off the conversations of this first edition of Afcon today, one very, very reliable football TikToker, and who's a celebrity TikToker when it comes to the sports space. He represents the green, white, and green, and he has massive interest and massive attention on all of the happenings of not only the Super Eagles of Nigeria, but also many other teams that are taking part in the tournament. And then we come to the Ghana side of things, where this man is the man who gets on your television screen and imposes himself on you every other Monday evening. He brings you Sports Zone together with all of our seasoned analysts. Tonight, we're just going to take a look at how it's all going in terms of the final preparatory moments for all of these teams. Fento Tahiru Fento also joins me here in the studio. Gentlemen, let's have you here. And I feel like this is a boxing bout that I'm announcing somewhere.
Yes, it really is.
Bros, how far?
How you doing?
Nice. How's it going, bros?
Yeah.
Everything good?
All correct.
Nice and easy.
I
all right,
think,
so there we go.
Do we need to shake hands?
Don't stop. I don't shake hands.
We don't throw punches?
I don't shake hands.
Okay, good.
I don't shake hands.
If it was punches, it sure
shake
would have been a
hands.
catch-weight contest because, he looks like a super welterweight. He looks like a middleweight. So, yeah, both around the same zone.
He's
he has
cruiserweight.
a longer reach.
So what's he saying?
So you have a longer reach.
So I'm Ali?
Well, you could be Ali and he could be, the executioner, Bernard Hopkins.
You are cruiserweight.
Ali was in heavyweight.
You are cruiserweight. Nobody cares about cruiserweight.
Well, so much to laugh about, so much to be concerned about as well as we build up to the Africa Cup of Nations. But gentlemen, great time to be together as we discuss the tournament. It's been a long time in coming. Of course, this was supposed to happen last year, but then because of the peculiar reasons, we find ourselves here. Let's begin, because you represent 2 nations that have very, very, topsy-turvy, thoughts as we get ourselves ready for the tournament, especially because of what happened in the last set of qualifiers. In Nigeria, for instance, one of the most reliable strikers finds himself on the injury list.
This is a very interesting situation because what we have here is Victor Boniface out. And he's not just one of the best strikers in Africa, he's one of the best strikers in the world. We're talking about a guy that has won all the Rookie of the Year, Rookie of the Month awards in the Bundesliga. Yeah. This guy can dribble, he can pass, he can get into tight spaces, he can score. He is the man. So
Boniface is the definition of utility, long and short.
He is the definition of what Nigeria needs. Because at this point right now, when you look at the Nigerian national team, we look at the situation whereby we don't have a goalkeeper. We have nothing in the post. In the goalpost is prayers. The defense is below average.
True.
The midfield doesn't have Ndidi, so there is no direction there. Iwobi is more of an attacking threat. The concentration and the direction and everything you need in the midfield, Ndidi is the one that provides it. He's not there. Then on the attack now, you have Osimhen out there on his own. Murphy is great. Yeah, but he's not Boniface.
A replacement.
Yeah, he's not. He's not Boniface. Boniface is the kind of guy that can play as an SS. Can Murphy be the backup to Osimhen and play together with him? I don't know. So it's going to be interesting.
Talk talk about this just reminds me of a couple of years back when Luis Figo was active and was leading Portugal and had to, virtually take the team on his shoulders and be alone up front, like he's saying. This sure is going to be a very tough one for Victor Osimhen. I mean...
It will be.
Yeah.
The expectations are huge,
Yeah.
coming on the back of being named African Footballer of the Year. The unfortunate thing for him is that this season hasn't exactly been as stellar as last season, which makes this even more important for him because we know Nigerians, okay, he cannot afford to flop because we have seen in the past where players have gone to competitions, haven't done well, and their homes have been destroyed. So expectations are very high. I am very afraid for Victor Osimhen, and especially, like he mentioned, now in the absence of Victor Boniface, who is a player that could have taken a bit of pressure off of him. He is not there to provide that supporting cast. And in all honesty, I think Victor Boniface himself could have been a leading member of that team.
Sure.
Now, Osimhen is a top striker, but Boniface has shown this season that he can hold his own as well. 18 goals in, I think, 24 appearances so far in Germany. Nobody saw that coming. He only joined them at the start of the season, and he's working absolute wonders. I had the privilege of watching him against Borussia Dortmund when he scored the equalizer, when he brought his grandmother. It's a great story. And the unfortunate thing about the whole situation is that also ahead of the under 20 World Cup, he got injured 5 days before the tournament.
True.
And now, ahead of the Afcon, he gets injured 6 days before the competition. So it's a very sad situation for him personally. But he is absolutely spot on. Stone is spot on with his analysis and diagnosis of Nigeria. They don't have a good goalkeeper. They do not. The last friendly matches, it was funny watching the national goalkeepers.
Yeah,
and in defense, the reason he talks about the defense being below average is that what they used to call the Onyimbo wall is the wall has fallen.
You don't have the Ekongs anymore.
No. Balogun.
Yeah,
Balogun. Okong has lost a bit of form. He's no longer the player that he used to be. They've got the former Chelsea player. What's his name?
Omero.
Omeruo is no longer the same player. He's always reliable. But
and just when he mentioned, I mean, it's just taking me and throwing me back to the Peter Rufais of yesteryear, Vincent Inyamas of yesteryear, who had presence in the goalpost and just were a point of intimidation. We're going to come, to the Black Stars and what we also have in terms of our stripped-up analysis. But thank you very much. You're still here with us on this first edition of Afcon Today here on Joy News and also on Joy Prime. Let's quickly take you through some of the key things you need to know about the upcoming Africa Cup of Nations and its history.
Côte d'Ivoire is enthusiastically preparing for the 2023 African Cup of Nations. Across the country, 6 stadiums proudly stand ready to welcome the legends of African football. Let's explore these temples of sport where adrenaline and passion will burn brighter than ever. In the center of Abidjan, the economic capital of Côte d'Ivoire, stands the Félix Houphouët-Boigny Stadium. This historic stadium, with completely reinstalled and covered stands located in the heart of Plateau, captivates with its grandeur. With 29,000 seats and a hybrid lawn, it offers stunning views of the Ebrié Lagoon. North of Abidjan, in Ebimbe, extends on an area of over 40,000 hectares the Alassane Ouattara Olympic Stadium. With 60,000 seats, a natural lawn, and parking lot that can accommodate more than 10,000 vehicles, this stadium is one of the largest in West Africa. It will host the opening and the closing games of the Afcon 2023. In Yamoussoukro, the political capital of the country, lies the Charles Konan-Banny Stadium with a capacity of 20,000 seats. This pitch is equipped with a hybrid lawn. Still in the center of Côte d'Ivoire is the mythical La Paix Stadium of Bouaké. Inaugurated for the first time in 1984, went under renovations for the 2023 African Cup of Nations. Its capacity has been increased from 25,000 to 40,000 seats with a roof for all the bleachers. On the southwest of Côte d'Ivoire, the seaside town of San Pedro is also preparing to host the competition. The city's new Olympic Stadium, Laurent Pokou, built on over 16.5 hectares, 20,000 fully covered seats and a 2,000 space parking lot. Korogo, in the Poro region of northern Côte d'Ivoire, is the 5th city in the country to host the Afcon 2023. This city stadium, Amadou Koulibaly, is built on an area of 20.17 hectares. It is equipped with 20,000 fully covered seats, a natural lawn and a 2,000 space parking lot.
Under the leadership of President Alassane Ouattara, Côte d'Ivoire has prepared itself to offer Africa an exceptional Africa Cup of Nations. The Afcon 2023 in Côte d'Ivoire promises to be an unforgettable chapter in a history of African football. Join us to experience the warmth of our hospitality and be part of this extraordinary adventure.
Côte d'Ivoire is enthusiastically preparing for the 2023 African Cup of Nations. Across the country, 6 stadiums proudly stand ready to welcome the legends of African football. Let's explore these temples of sport where adrenaline and passion will burn brighter than ever.
That whets your appetite to follow some very good football, isn't it? Well, we are going to be your number one in terms of breaking the issues down and bringing you all of the analysis, some of the key things that you may not necessarily or ordinarily think about on a regular day as we all zoom in on the Africa Cup of Nations happening in Côte d'Ivoire. Well, remember that we're live here on the Joy News channel and also on the Joy Prime channel. Here with me in the studio are 2 fine gentlemen who you'd probably see. One you'd be seeing some more, especially during this period. But let's now hit it off on a light note before throwing the focus on Ghana. Now, Sadio Mane is the man who led Senegal to the last edition of the Africa Cup of Nations in terms of success. And he tied the knot at the weekend to his longtime sweetheart. Well, these are some of the key moments. So that's the Senegal captain and his lovely wife there, doing something that he's not really accustomed to, posing for long hours for...
He looks very uncomfortable.
Very.
He looks very uncomfortable. Were you that uncomfortable on your wedding day night?
Oh, I was cool and calm, Doing the cameras is like part of my skin.
Yeah, I know. I was...
Guys, we're going to get into the Black Stars now. Now, trial game was played, and based on that, there have been massive, bits of, criticism or feedback for the team, especially also considering that the Black Stars have not looked as sharp as we would expect as we get ourselves ready for major assignments such as this. Well, let's quickly take a look at what happened at the Babara Stadium in Kumasi, which is also a venue that has hosted Africa Cup of Nations games.
I think what was evident is that we were up against a team that's a lot of energy, very direct in the way that they play, 4-4-2, look to search behind, good runners behind, and around that, what you have to be able to do is keep the ball well enough. And in a first half period, I thought our ball retention wasn't good enough, which made it difficult for us. In the times when we could change the play, which was when you've got a team that you're playing against in 4-4-2 narrow with high energy, then the travel of the ball has got to be quicker. So I didn't think we was good enough on the ball in a first half period. Second half, of course, better, but the game opens up. The game opens up, and I think we were able to capitalise then on the spaces. And then it becomes the job then to score goals. And of course, we entered the final third a lot more in the second half than what we did in the first half. But either perhaps a lack of quality at times saw us not get opportunities. I think you have to credit them. I think they defended very well in their moments. But we had to make more of the possession that we had, and particularly the possession we had in the final third. Yeah, so probably four with Iñaki. Iñaki had before he joined us. He joined us a touch later than we wanted to. He had an illness at home. He's fine now, but he's obviously missed a good period of training, and I think has only had 2 days training with us. Semenyo was ill yesterday. We thought he couldn't train yesterday. We were monitoring to see how he was today. There was no change today, so that excluded him from the game. Salis picked up a knock in training yesterday, which meant that he couldn't be involved in the squad today. And with Kudus, we've been in regular communication with him and his club. He does have an injury. He is recovering from that injury and will join us tomorrow.
All right, so you just saw an image of the man everybody's talking about. We're getting, the information that he would be, in... Yeah, he's arrived in Kumasi. Okay, so he should be with the Black Stars team as we speak. So it's a very tough situation for Ghana at this time because he's the highest rated player, and we have to make use of him because just like we're listening to the analysis on the Super Eagles, the Black Stars are not exactly looking, it.
It's been a big struggle, Nat, I have to tell you, since Chris Hughton took over. We've conceded more goals than we've scored. His forte as a manager, built over the years, has always been that his teams have been noted for their defensive solidity. And so when he took the job, the expectation was that Ghana would not play any sort of exciting, expansive football. But at least one thing we knew we would get from Chris Hughton was exactly a good balance in defense. Unfortunately, we haven't had that. We haven't had good defensive display. Our midfielders are struggling to create, and we are not scoring enough goals. And if you look at the problems with the Blast, and that's a visual of Mohamed Kudus arriving in Kumasi earlier today. If you look at the whole team, you would understand where our problems are. And I think problem number one is Chris Hughton's fascination with playing with two DMs. And he's done it many times. And there's been a few explanations for that. Perhaps you can argue that maybe it's his attempt to try and fix the defensive issues that we have in the team. So then what does he do? He puts an extra midfielder there because defending doesn't start with the defenders. It starts from the front. So he's trying to do that. Unfortunately, ever since he started implementing that, we are still conceding. But what that has done is that it's also limited our ability to go forward. So now he plays two DMs and the team lacks a progressor. And once a team lacks a progressor, you notice that a lot of our DMs are always passing the ball either sideways or passing the ball backwards.
Fent, that's a very important point you've raised there. And that is what brings me to my next issue about supply and, providing the needed supply for our arrowheads. We've been talking about Victor Osimhen for a little bit. Now we have an Inaki Williams who's also performing pretty well at Athletic Bilbao. But there we go. We do not have a proper support system. Now, according to the analysis, we have a problem right behind,
our forward players.
And that becomes a big issue.
I think the first thing I want to look at is the play out from the back, right? I want to look at Ofori. Ghana has a goalkeeper that cannot play out from the back effectively. And what that does is that when the ball gets to the back, you have to just pull it out, play it out. And that's a situation whereby If you look at Manchester United, for example, they had to replace David De Gea and all those kind of stuff like that. At the end of the day, you need a goalkeeper that's confident on the ball. That's not Africa right now. Yeah. He can create, he can get you the chances you need. But the finishing is the problem. He can't be creating and then coming forward again to finish. I'll pass, then I'll pass to myself for me to now make the true pass to myself, for me to now finish the goal. I mean, come on now. So that's the problem.
But talk about building up from the back. Yeah. Talk about building up from the back. I do remember that Jojo Wollacott, Jojo Wollacott, when we put him into his first international assignment for Ghana, did pretty well. For a first-timer, I believe that he did pretty well.
He did okay, yeah?
Yeah, he did pretty okay. I mean, in terms of the psychological toughness and everything. And I do realize as well that Jojo Wollacott shows a lot more confidence when the Black Stars are building up from the back. Right?
Yeah, but even the one that shows the most confident, the one that's most comfortable on the ball amongst those three is actually Atizigi.
Yeah.
You know, who also, some people want to believe that his spirit calls for goals too much. He makes a lot of saves, but every time he's in goal, we also concede a lot of chances and consequently a lot of goals. At the World Cup, he had a decent World Cup, but we still conceded 7 goals in 3 matches. So, listen, this is what I think is going on with the Black Stars. First of all, we need to look at what defensive pairing works. Because honestly, it's one area where we haven't been able to properly address. Because listen, if we have Mohamed Salisu, and anybody who knows him knows what kind of quality he is, we saw him coming in the second half. And I always say, if a player is fit enough to play in the second half, they're fit enough to start. He is, by far, our best defender as things stand. I think the best way to get the best out of our centre-backs, especially those 4, would be to play in a back 3. And this is my opinion. I think to play Salisu on the left, play Jiku in the middle, and play Amati on the right-hand side. Okay? And play wing-backs. I think Dennis Odoi might not be the most offensive right-sided wing-back.
But he gets the job done.
Yeah, and this is how you do it. Even for the most traditional teams, you don't always have 2 wing-backs both flying. You have 2 wing-backs, but one is always more offensive than the other one. Hence Gideon Mensah, in my opinion. I would have preferred Baba Rahman because he's a flying full-back. But Gideon Mensah can do the job, a decent job. And if you do that, I think we leave a place, for me, if you do that and you play two DMs, that is tolerable. But in my opinion, if you play like that, in that back 5 or back 3 plus 2 wingers, you can play a number 8 and a DM. A number 8, Majid Ashimeru. We also saw, once again, we saw him in the second half. He showed yet again that he is the number 8 that is missing that we've always lacked in the absence of Thomas Partey. He slots in without a doubt. Then you can play Salis as that DM to sweep up, all right? And then it leaves you with a front 3. Now, that front 3 option is key. And I think that front 3, no matter what, Kudus Mohammed has to play in there. On that left-hand side, he has to play closer to goal, like when he plays at West Ham. I think we've misdiagnosed and misprofiled him a lot of the times where we seem to think that he's a number 10, so we put him in a hole to be roaming about. He's a goal scorer. In that number 10, there's this tendency with African players, they think once I have the number 10 jersey, I have to dribble like Abedi Pele or JJ Okocha. No, the times have changed. When he goes to West Ham, he plays far more efficient football than when he plays for the Black Stars. And yet, he is Ghana's top scorer since he made his debut. So it says a lot about what you need to know about this player. So play him closer to goal. And on that right-hand side, play another enterprising winger. I think Ghana is probably overstacked on that right-hand side because you look at Pencil, he can play there. Osman Bukari can play there. Inaki Williams can play there. Semenyo can play there. We don't even have, in my opinion, I don't even think we have we only have one proper centre forward, the local boy, Jonathan Sowa, because all the other players that we have are probably auxiliary strikers. So I would go with maybe a player like Osman Bukari, enterprising, he's quick, he's got good experience playing in the Champions League, and then maybe play a player like Jordan Ayew. And most people don't like Jordan Ayew, but there's a reason managers after managers after managers all keep playing him. And if that's the other case, maybe I'll switch him and take him to the flanks and then, of course, play a different player, maybe Inaki Williams to the centre. Because, for example, the opposition will determine where I play Jordan. Because you play against Egypt, you need a player like Jordan with the tactical discipline to track down the runs of Mohamed Salah on that right-hand side. You play any other player, it's lights out. We are done. You understand me? So for me, I think that is a workable system. Houghton has struggled to find a balance in this team. And it looks to me like even with 3 or 4 days to the start of the Afcon, after 10 days, after 6 or 7 days of camping in Kumasi, he still hasn't figured out the right system to get the best out of this team. Well, and that game against Namibia, they were shambolic.
Yeah, so
couldn't string passes.
So at this point, everybody is also now looking for solutions, no matter how dire the situation is looking. And the question then is, who do we put as the main support system, as the Iniesta behind the Williams? Who is that man to stand there right behind him, anticipate his movement, and give him supply?
I think I told you. I think that player would be. See, ordinarily that player should have been Thomas Partey. In his absence, in my opinion, I think that player definitely is Majid Ashimeru. He's a creator. He's a box-to-box midfielder. He's skillful. He can spot a pass. He's a destroyer. Look at it this way. It's more or less like having Nemanja Matic and Cesc Fabregas. Okay? For me, that's how I see Salis, and then I see Ashimeru. One is a hybrid 8 and 10. The other one is a 6. And Ashimeru, for me, can do that job. And you have Kudus Mohammed on that right-hand side. Of course, auxiliary, he can slot in as and when, take up a number of other forward positions or those half spaces. He's not a winger. So the idea is not for him. It's like the way Conte played his back three system. When Willian and Pedro played, they were not wingers. They didn't, yes, they were always tucking in all the time. They just took up forward positions, but not hugging the touchline like Ashley Young of 2006, those typical winger days. Those are gone. Right now, we have very few wingers in the game. Very few wingers. And even the wingers we have right now in the modern game are not even as exciting as they used to be. Now all of them want to pass backward and hold width. Come on, man. When you look at the wingers of old, it was completely different. And right now, I don't think we have a talent issue. I've said this many times. I think the talent is there. Our forward players combined, the 9 forward players Ghana have named for this Afcon, have scored 52 goals. And Karim has been doing some work on that. And when he comes, you can compare it to all of the other teams that are in Ghana's group, and you see that we are not far off. So why aren't we getting the team together, scoring and winning games? Well,
that is a very big area of concern. Score and win the games. You know, interestingly, ahead of the last edition of the Africa Cup of Nations, Nigeria, the Super Eagles of Nigeria, were the highest rated team to get it done.
They had nice strikers.
I mean, look, everybody was paranoid about the team, as if we had a reoccurrence of the golden generation of the Okochas and the, all of those other guys, the Finidi Georges and all of them.
You know
then
why?
You look around now,
you
look at the situation now.
They blazed through the group stages. They won every game.
Yeah,
and everybody thought, what a team.
What a team.
And then the first hurdle in the knockout,
Tunisia that's very important. They just ran through. But in that match, when you look at how Nigeria played, I kept on shouting, and maybe my videos are not seen by these guys. Maybe, I don't know. But there was a lack of experience. Someone like Ahmed Musa at that time was good enough to do what we wanted him to do. Because when you're playing Victor Moses, who was just dribbling and running around the pitch in that match against just run, dribble,
Are you talking about Tunisia again?
Yeah, just dribble, and they knew that all they needed to do was just focus on that wing and block him, and they blocked him there. We couldn't do anything, and I was like, I mean, I'm not a coach. I'm a normal human being, but I could look at this thing. If I remove Victor Moses Simon from there and put him in the middle, it changes the dynamics of the game. Everybody can move and get the job done. But at the end of the day, we have a system in Nigeria that doesn't promote fixes in the game. You just play.
You have more dynamism in the squad, you think?
You think we have dynamism? We do not have. That's the truth. Because at this point right now, you have Lookman, right? You have Lookman, you have Chukwueze. Chukwueze in the Nigerian national team is worse than who's your worst winger? He's worse than him in the national team. I am telling you right now, it's the practical reality of it. And okay, you know what? Let me give you this scenario. Chukwueze is equal to Pencil. Both of them are the same people. in the national team. Because when you look at it, Chukwueze, for example, in AC Milan, he's wonderful. He's winning matches. He's doing this. He's dribbling. He's effective. He's going through tight spaces. He's creating. He's doing all these things. Chukwueze is feared. He comes into the national team. He can track back. He comes into the national team. The same dribbling. He dribbles and dribbles into the goal kick. and I'm almost like, he can't cross one ball. And Victor Osimhen, it was last year when we were having a conversation. Victor Osimhen was one of the best strikers in the world. At some point, people were saying he's the best striker in the world. They say, okay, it's him, it's Haaland, it's this and that. Now, all of that. Now, he came for a friendly. This guy had been on red hot form. And then, he didn't get, maybe in the entire match, 2 crosses into the box. It was frustrating. And I was pissed because I wasted my time watching the match. And that's exactly what might happen again. Because look, man, his whole life is to dribble. Chukwueze, his whole life is to dribble. And then Osimhen is just going to be standing there. And that's why I'm pissed that Boniface is out. Because Boniface would have given that pass there.
So I'm just thinking, I mean, with this kind of...
Some people that have problems pass one.
Yeah, very angry.
So with these kinds of issues that you have, in Nigeria, I'm just wondering how, the atmosphere is like in camp in Abu Dhabi. I don't know. From one end, you see our legends, for instance, talking positive, trying to rally support for the team and all of that. I don't know what is happening on your end.
Let me just put it like this. It is just self-deceit to think that Nigeria will win the Afcon. It's self-deceit.
At least perform well.
I'm a man that doesn't believe in deceiving myself.
Okay.
And to tell you the truth, going into the Afcon, I expect...
And Nigeria in a tough group.
Yeah.
With the host.
We have Cote d'Ivoire. And we are lucky that Cote d'Ivoire did not bring Zaha. Because if they had brought that brother, we might be looking at 3-0. Because Zaha alone, I'm telling you right now...
They still have Max Gradel.
Yeah.
He's old, but...
We're gonna hope that he doesn't become who we think he can turn into on big platforms. We're gonna hope that. But when you look at the Nigerian team, national team, it's all about patriotism. Anybody that says anything positive about the team is patriotism. It is not the truth. They are not telling the truth. They're not telling the facts. They're not being honest with themselves. Because when you look at the team, we have no goalkeeper. What somebody wrote there, Odumodu Black wrote there, that we have blood of Jesus. That's the goalkeeper. And then you look at the defense. Then you look at the midfield. Now the question right there will now be, can our coach adopt a system that can fit into the players that we have now? And my answer to that will be an emphatic no, because we're still going to play the same thing and we're going to end up in error.
Well, these are very strong thoughts coming from here in the studio. The reality on the ground as we get ourselves ready for a big weekend which heralds the start of the 2023 edition of the Africa Cup of Nations in Cote d'Ivoire. Talk about legends and their involvement and what their thoughts are. We'll take a listen to Ghana legend Richard Kingson, who is now a coach, working currently on his UEFA badges and has seen 2 editions of the Africa Cup of Nations. Now, he believes that if we are to make anything meaningful from the Africa Cup of Nations, it has to be with a winning start. 3 points in that game against Cape Verde. That will be how we can start projecting for a positive campaign at the Afcon. I spoke to him earlier this weekend. Let's have a listen.
I know Ghanaians are not happy about the team because previous performances have not been, it's not gone well for us. But like you said, we are Ghana. We are Ghana. You go, I always say that everywhere you go in this country, you find quality players in the country. But then again, you can have, one thing we should know is like a football team. It's a football team. So we need to have proper guidance to the players that we can guide them to achieve whatever the country wanted to achieve in terms of proper training camp, in terms of the technical team sending the right messages to them, the players getting used to the technical team. I know they went to camp very late, but most of the players that have made it to the final list, they've stayed with the technical team. So already the players know the technical team and the technical team know the players as well. So the state that they are in now, the main focus is game plan to our first game in Ivory Coast. I know it's going to be tough. It's not going to be it's not going to be easy for the team. But the most important thing is our first game. If you get it right, I think we'll have a smooth tournament. I know Ghanaians are not happy about the team because previous performances have not been, it's not gone well for us. But like you said, we are Ghana, you know.
We are Ghana, and that will come to bear, or that will be done after the full 90 minutes on Sunday evening when Ghana plays Cape Verde. How is that game going to go? Well, we're going to get into some statistics very shortly. And we put out a poll. We've been taking a look at certain key numbers and figures which could become very relevant as we get ourselves ready for the start of the tournament. Right now, however, Fintu and Stone are going to take a breather, take it easy here in the studio while we do a round of messages. And after that, we bring you all of the analysis with figures and some key statistics. Well, Stone is here with me in studio, and just type in Stone Avenue on Twitter or on X or on TikTok. Mostly. Yeah.
He has almost 400,000 followers on TikTok.
Yeah, sure. So
he's here in Ghana, enjoying Ghana jollof.
Hi to all of the guys, yeah.
Good food, good food.
We're gonna talk about that in a little bit, but we're wrapping up. Well, I assured you that I was going to bring you some key facts and figures and some stats, and the man to do that for us is Karim. Karim, good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
Long weekend, and you know, you're the man.
You know Karim's nickname? They call him Bande Messi.
Oh, I see. Karim is also one of those who has missed his calling, eh?
To be honest,
the journalism thing is not really your thing.
What's his true calling?
Yeah.
Oh, I could have been
when you look at Karim's
the legs,
when you look at his right leg and the way it's molded, you are reminded of Rivaldo. How well, we're just talking about set pieces and all of that. Yeah. And Richard Kingson, these were the kinds of, this guy is just wasting his
I'll tell you a very short story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you say short?
Yeah, no, it's really short. Marcelo Bielsa, the famous manager, Argentine manager, he discovered the Chelsea manager, Mauricio Pochettino. And you know how he did it? At the time, he was the head coach of Newell's Young Boys, the team that Messi came from. That's where Pochettino also came from. All right. When he was recruiting boys for the academy, they told him about a player called Mauricio Pochettino. He was a young boy, under 10 years old. He was going to recruit him for the academy, or he's going to have a look at him. Okay. When he got to Pochettino's house, his parents said he was sleeping, and Bielsa said, "I want to see the kid.
Just want to see him."
So he goes and he said, "Pull up the blanket. I want to see his legs." They pull out the blanket. He looks at the kid's legs and said, "Bring him tomorrow.
He can play."
He can play.
It's as simple as
and
that.
It's a short story.
It's true.
Just by looking at Pochettino's legs, you could tell he'll be a footballer.
I mean, and the great coaches just have the thing at their fingertips. I mean, it's like they bathe it, they live it, And, the late coach, Emmanuel Lafrani, also has a similar story with Mohamed Gago. Same thing. He says, drop the ball, kick, 1, kick 2, kick 3. I've selected you. That's it. Karim, maybe we'll select you another day, but today you're doing statistics. Take us through.
Nat, do you know that Jonathan Soa, who plays for Midiama in the Ghana Premier League and the CAF Champions League, is the second player with the most goals in terms of attackers named in the Black Stars?
Interesting.
So would you advise Chris Hughton to start him against Cape Verde?
Well, you see, I will if, because you see, in terms of the psychological awareness, this guy knows that, number one, this is a very big platform for him.
Yep. Yeah.
He stands to gain a platinum mine, in quote, if he's able to do it and do it well.
Yep.
I mean, he's the kind of player who can put his face up there if there's a free kick and he knows there's a big shot coming. He doesn't mind. As against the millionaires who are, and have, don't care about it.
You know what this reminds me of?
Yeah.
It reminds me of Sondemba.
I was just going there.
Sondemba,
where is he now, by the way?
I don't know where he is right now, but given a chance, he scored the very important
goal. I remember,
Jonathan Soa should get his chance.
Maybe. So tell me about it.
So
tell me.
The player on top of that pile is Mohamed Kudus. plays for West Ham. That shouldn't be surprising. In 27 games for both West Ham and Ajax, he scored 14 goals. If you are looking at comparatively per game, not per minute, you are looking at around 4.9 to 0.9 to 0.5 if he's averaging goal per game in that 26-14. So looking at it, Iñaki Williams, he's also played 18 games for Athletic Club and he scored 8 goals. Then Usman Bukhari plays for Red Star Belgrade and he scored 7 goals in 22 games. The same for Joseph Pencil, also played 22 for Genk and has also scored 7. Then we see Semenyo coming in there with 17 games and scoring 3 goals, and Jordan Ayew 21 and scoring 2. Then Ransford Yabo 18-1 and Esnioma 14-1. If you're looking at overall, all these 9 attackers we've named, looking at it in Group B, Ghana has named the most attackers in the group. That's 9, and all of them have played a combined 174 games. And if we are looking at average per game, the 54 goals they've scored, looking at it per game, they've scored around 0.29 around there. Then looking at it, it doesn't really, they've scored a lot of goals here, 54 in 174 games. If you're looking at it, it doesn't correspond with the number of goals they've scored for the Black Stars under Chris Hughton. That's just this season, in 174 games, they've scored 54.
So in 174 matches so far for their club size, Ghana's 9 attackers have scored 54 goals, averaging 0.29 goals.
52 goals.
Exactly, 52 goals.
Yes.
But this is their performance in the Black Stars.
Yes, under Chris Hughton. Take us through
it. That's really interesting to see the contrast from what we've just seen. In 9 games, Mohamed Kudus has scored 2. The winner against the equalizer against the Central African Republic, and the one in the friendly. Then we see Jonathan Sower, he's played only 2 and he's not scored a goal. Then Iñaki Williams 8 and he's also only scored 1. Then Osman Bukhari 6 has scored 1. Joseph Pencil 6-0. Then we have Antoine Semenyo playing one of the attackers Chris Hughton has trusted, but he's not also delivering the goals. In 8, he has played 1. Then Jordan Ayew, he has played the most, all the games Chris Hughton has managed for the Black Stars, but he's managed to score 1 goal, not 0. 1 goal in that friendly against Liberia. Then Enes Nyoma, he's averaging really good there. Looking at the minutes, he's not started all those games and has scored 2 goals in 8 games under Chris Hughton. So
wow, that is interesting. So that then means that Nyama and Kudus have been the best performing.
Yes, 2 goals in each, and it doesn't just compare really good. Looking at the goals they've scored for their clubs and what they've done under Chris Hughton.
So the best way to look at this is to look at the average numbers, and that's why they're critical, and that's why Karim was going there. So if Kudus has scored 14 goals in 27 games, and that is an average of 0.5 goals per game, which works out around 1 goal every 2 matches. You look at this average.
It's 0.29 something.
This is exactly. So this is way below. This is
clear. It's clear.
This works out to a goal in every 4.5 games.
That's
in the Black Stars. But at West Ham, he's scoring a goal every 2 games.
Yeah. So
that's the best way
that's
to
woefully
understand
inadequate, Fentio. Woefully inadequate. I mean, per 4.5 games, no. By that time, the group stage will have been over. Let's now get on Zoom and have a conversation with Fifi Manfred, who is with our sister network in Kumasi, where the Black Stars are stationed. Well, we saw some images of Kudus Mohammed landing, in Kumasi at the Kumasi International Airport. So he is currently in the team camp, which is stationed at the Golden Bean Hotel in Kumasi. Well, let's quickly get through to him. Fifi, can you hear me and can you see us clearly?
Yeah, I can see you, Nat, and I can hear you clearly.
Oh, great stuff there. Now, we've received confirmation that Kudus has landed safely in Kumasi and is now with the side. I'm sure that you've also had an opportunity to see what's been happening with training. Bring us up to speed.
Well, thank you very much, Nat. Like you said, Kudus has arrived in Kumasi after reports were that earlier that he was in Accra some days before. I think Fent reported that earlier. He has finally arrived in Kumasi. He was accompanied by a West Ham member of West Ham technical team. We are thinking that that's supposed to be the official, who was Mohamed Kudus. He has joined the team in their hotel base here in Golden Bean here in Kumasi. The players have received him calmly, and then he's going to look to, fitting into the team, meets the technical team, send reports of himself from the West Ham and to the official, to the Black Stars medical team. Then they can have a better conclusion of him. The hamstring injury that we heard that he suffered a few days ago, to see if he has been able to go through that rehab that he has to get to be able to play against Cape Verde in our first game in Ivory Coast.
Now, let's get back to the thoughts as well. I mean, we've been talking a lot about, the game, the performance. What's the look and feel of the conversations, in town? I mean, Kumasi fans are known to be very loyal to the Black Stars, but we saw a certain side of them when the Black Stars played. I don't know if the arrival of Kudus is watering things down a bit.
Yesterday, the first half at the Barbara Sports Stadium was lackluster. For want of a better word, it wasn't good enough. Not even for the most loyal Black Stars fans here in Kumasi, like you saw in the various videos that were making rounds, they had lost it by the 31st minute, and they felt that there was a lot more that the players could do. It goes beyond even just the coach. They felt that the players could do more. In the second half, it was way better than what you saw in the first half. But generally, this has been what we've been seeing under Coach Richard for a very long time. And going forward into the Afcon, regardless of the fact that Mohamed Kudus is even in there, with career statistics that he did put out, in a number of games that he has played under Richard, he has scored just 2. It doesn't match up to his numbers at West Ham United. Again, you go to West Ham United, that's not necessarily a team that plays free-flowing attacking football, but they have a plan, they have a particular structure in which they're able to harness Mohamed Kudus' qualities. What is our structure? What is our plan to harness Mohamed Kudus' quality? That is going to be the big question for Chris Sheeting. But even before that, will he be fit enough to bang in the goals for us when we come to Cape Verde? So generally, it's going to be a tough one. But then I think that is going to be something that we wait to see in our first game opening in Ivory Coast against Cape Verde.
All right, Fifi, thank you so much. We sure are going to be coming to you, and we'll be monitoring the situation until the Black Stars are playing for Abidjan as they get themselves ready for this big one. So thank you very much, Karim. And Stone, thank you so much. A cowboy is welcome. O'Shea is thank you. O'Shea is like more like.
Thank you. What language is that? What language is that?
Farabale. What language? No. What language is that?
Farabale is...
No.
What language? Igbo or Yoruba?
What's that?
Is Yoruba?
Okay.
Don't worry.
Just to be sure.
But Stone, are you a Yoruba man?
No, I'm not.
You're Igbo?
I'm Igbo man.
We'll talk about all of that. yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for this maiden edition of Afcon Today, live on Joy News and on Joy Prime.